You're listening to the Hot Point Podcast, a commentary on all the hot points of life, hosted by Opiemi Omojafo.
Hello and welcome back to another instalment of the Hot Point Podcast, presented to you by your host, Opiemi Omojafo, the baddest babe and ends. Yes. So, this week's podcast, we're going to be talking about the pressures of marriage. And it was just a topic that came up this week, something I wanted to talk about, which is the general theme, a hot point that I find interesting and I want to discuss. So I'm going to get into that, and it's going to be from a Christian perspective, because we are Christians, and that's how we've always looked at it, from that sort of perspective, and from like a African sort of perspective as well. But before we get into that, let me tell you an interesting story that happened to me this week. So I was going to, where was I going? Somewhere to deliver a parcel, and then the light is glaring in my glasses, and then so I delivered the parcel, and then I saw this light-skinned guy in the shop, and then he looked at me, and then you know with the look that you get, and you know it's on. So then, but I wasn't in the mood. I've been dressing bummy lately because I'm on half term. I don't care. I'm all about comfortability. So I thought, I look a bit bummy. I'm comfortable. I don't really care. I'm not really on any moving thing right now. So they looked at me. I looked at him. I was screwing the shopkeeper because I'm like, you're wasting my time, and it's raining outside. Like, I'm trying to go home. So then I leave the shop. I scanned the area when I left the shop to see if the guy was still outside, but he wasn't. I was like, hey, I'm in the clear. The guy, he dipped. I guess it wasn't. My intuition was off. So then I started walking towards the supermarket because I wanted to get some cheese string. I've been obsessed with cheese string lately. I don't know why. So then I'm walking to Asda. I'm singing Skepta, and then someone behind me is like, excuse you, miss. And I knew someone was calling me, but I just ignored them. And then it was the guy, and obviously he tried to move to me. And he was like, oh, is there a chance I can get your number? I was like, no, I'm not about that. Then I walked away. And that was it. That's the story. Which also prompted today's discussion. So, like I said, we're talking about the pressures of marriage, and from a Christian perspective. And I'm going to get my sister's perspective on it. We're going to have a discussion, we're going to have a conversation. And I also asked a male family friend, so that we could get a male perspective on the topic of the question. So yeah, I'll be inputting some of the things that he said as well, so we can just have a male perspective, or his perspective. So let's get into it. So my first question, or the first thing to start off the discussion, when I say marriage, what's the first couple of things that come into your mind? Don't get too deep into it, just say what comes out and make sure you speak loud enough.
Do you want me to introduce myself?
Oh,
Say anything?
Wait, do the marriage thing and then we'll introduce you because you already said it.
Okay, cool. Go on then.
Marriage.
Pressure. Submission. Love. Black love. Happiness. Forever.
Is that it?
Yeah.
So you said pressure, submission. So whilst I'm like, you introduce yourself to the people.
Okay. Hi people. So I am Theophania Omojafo. I am Opiemi's big sister. I am 22, and I'm here to kind of give my views on today's topic of marriage. And again, like Opiemi said, giving it from a Christian point of view, but not only that, us being Nigerian, giving it from a cultural perspective as well, because I feel like even though, yes, we are seeing it from a Christian point of view, being Nigerian, African, heavily weighs on that, because sometimes when it comes to marriage, you look at it more cultural than you do Christian.
Wait, it's still recorded, so it's fine.
Yeah, it did.
Flip that bit. I'll turn that into like a trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, so you just introduce yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask them, I forgot. My brain likes to do this. I don't know why.
Sorry, Paul.
Do you want to give them also interesting facts, like what you do, interest, hobbies, what type of person you are, so that, you know.
Okay, so I love to sing. That is me. I love to sing, love to act. I studied that pretty much my undergrad. That's me. I love a bit of musical theatre. I love to watch movies. I'm a trainee teacher at the moment, going into primary school. Was going to do secondary drama, but you know, as life will have it, as God will have it, I'm doing primary. Love to eat, love to drink, love to go out with my friends. You know,
a crazy bunch.
Ooh, we just like to be young. I love to be a young person, breaking Christian narratives that we should be dressed like nuns and we should only be at home sipping the holy book, you know? Yeah, baby.
But I feel like that narrative is the church that we grew up in.
Smashed it.
It was never really like that.
No.
So I feel like that's like a, I don't know if it's expensive, that's like a Mormon.
I don't know. I feel like because we grew up in the church we did, with the older young people and lived where we live,
yeah,
I think we haven't really seen that as much. But going to other people's churches or hearing other people's experiences, or even having people come to our church and be like, "Oh, you shouldn't be wearing that. Why are you wearing that? What's that makeup? Why are you wearing?" And all of that, it makes you realize that, whoa, like there are still those stereotypes of your Christian girl. What are you doing?
Yeah, like even though I know everyone has their own little thing with their church that they wish wasn't like that, or things that could be better. But comparing like our church to like other churches and things we've experienced in other churches, we're quite like liberal with it, and it's very come as you're very progressive, and it's come as you are,
literally.
And it's like you know, present yourself as you are. And God loves you regardless. Which
obviously we're not saying come to church with your boozy canyon and your nyash on my leg. Honestly, come as you are. If that's where you're at, cool. Like I always say, there is nothing better than being real with where you're at on your walk, and even if you're not on that walk but you aspire to be, there is nothing better. But as so I would say that if you're at the beginning of stage of your walk, or not even on the walk yet, but if you are a mature Christian, if you are somebody who's been on the journey for a while, come on.
Yes, yeah, mate. What are you doing?
Mate. Obviously, the seasons we go through where you're hot and cold, that is completely normal. I just think it's for us to know, come on, we gotta get ourselves back on there, and to be always aware that, yo, I know that right now I'm falling off, but I need to get myself back on.
Get better with it.
Get better with it.
And we kind of went off topic there, but back to the whole first that comes to your mind when you think of marriage. You said something along the lines of pressure, love, black love, submission, and you said a couple other things, but I didn't catch them. When I asked our family friend, he doesn't want to be named for some reason. I don't know why. I said, I can promote you by December. You've been married. I said, send me your profile. What's it? Hobbies, likes. What's your credit score? That's important.
He drives. He's a good preacher. He's a good looking man. Oh my god. Oh my god. He's beautiful.
You know, he's got a low cut fit.
How old is he? Mid-20s, 25, 26. It's me up if you're looking for something.
If you want something sweet.
Yes. It's me up.
Something to sweeten. He's Nigerian. He's 6'1", 6'2".
6'2".
Tall.
With tall.
Anyway, back to what he said. So I asked him, what comes to your mind when you think of marriage? And you know, because he's a pastor, he said
he's a youth pastor, but he's edging towards pastor, you know.
He said, like, he answered it, but then he started to get deep into it. I was like, yo, it was just the first couple of things.
So he called it?
No, I just asked him on my phone. I wrote it down. I took notes. So this is along the lines of what he said. He said two people coming together as one, doing life together. You know, so saying children, house, cars, like family holidays, all of that, like stuff you see in like those family sitcoms and stuff like that.
I'm your recreational shop.
And then when he started getting into it deep, he was like, you know, growing spiritually together,
100%,
like pushing each other to go further in Christ.
100%.
So the whole let me get into like where this like thought came from to have this discussion. So I was listening to 3005 by Childish Gambino, that banger, and then you know everyone thinks that song is about like it's a love song, but then when I researched it and I looked into it, like I listened to a couple of interviews, he said, oh, everyone thinks it's a love song, but it's not. It's a song about the fear of being alone and people making hasty decisions. Like that's why a lot of people get married and why there's a lot of divorce, because people are scared of being alone, so they just marry they just marry someone they don't really know, and then a couple years down the line, like, oh, I don't even know you, I don't even love you, I made a mistake.
Somebody who's not worth them.
Yeah, so that got me thinking, and the question was just running around in my mind, and I was thinking about other things. So that's why we're here to talk about this topic. Like, do you have any thoughts on that? Like,
on what, the song and that?
The song, like the meaning, what he said, the meaning behind the song.
I hear it. And the thing is, obviously to me the song's just a banger, I didn't really think about it too deep. But when you look at the video and stuff, you would think it's about love. Like the way he artistically put forward that video.
I wouldn't even, when I looked at the video, it didn't remind me of a love song. Like,
no, it reminded me of Complicated Love. The fact that he's like saying with the girl running away from the girl.
The first time I had song, I was young. I wasn't thinking about Complicated Love.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have no thoughts on that, but it's true. You ask, well, I know for me, if someone asked me my biggest fear is, it was being alone. It was. And not even just relationships, but friendship-wise, no sister, just alone. Yeah, I thought that's a rational fear that everybody has. But then, as being a Christian as well, being like a new creation in Christ, like, fear is a sin. So to fear like being alone, that's like a double sin in my mind, because it's like, you have God with you, and He's always with you, so there's no way you could be alone. Yeah, and if you do still feel that way, I think you should like just pray to be content, knowing that God isn't. Just to pray that God is. The word is not forming. It's not forming. I think it's to actively walk in knowing that truth.
Yeah,
like actively walking knowing that truth. Like at uni, I think for a period of time I felt like I was alone. That kind of God just dropped me here and abandoned me there. But it's like, no, I had to walk in that truth. And for me, what that practically looked like was getting up in the morning and saying, good morning, God. Like, I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not fearful. Like reciting Bible verses. And so practically walking in that. Aside from praying and reading your Bible and having the knowledge of, I know God is with me. What can you do to practically walk in that?
And like, don't take everything we say for
literal
face front value.
Yeah.
You always have to do your own little research, experience it for yourself. But yeah, that's something that I would do. I've started doing. If I start to feel like a sort of emptiness, or like, I'm really alone right now. There's no one to just come and hug me, or someone to buy me Nando's.
Cheeky, right?
I'll just start to worship, or I'll start to pray, and I'll just feel better.
And it's a process. It's definitely a process. What I will say is, although don't take everything we say for literal, everything we are saying is out of an experience that we have gone through and are going through, have come out of the end of, or are seeing the light.
Especially like during this pandemic.
Boom.
So, centering the topic back to marriage, and like obviously everybody's now saying to you're a marrying age, because my sister's 22. I thought 21 and up, or some people 20 and up. That's when people start looking at you like, when are you gonna get married? Where's your husband? Like, you've been bringing me round. Then with that, I'm gonna going off topic a bit, because I have questions, but other things come up in my mind. So with that, it's like you're not allowed to date in this African household. You're not allowed to date. You're not allowed to, you shouldn't be out here fornicating. What's the word? Correlating. That doesn't make sense.
Correlated. Facial fronts.
I don't know. Just being in like chilling with guys and stuff. I don't know what the word is.
Hanging out, sir.
Yeah, hanging out with guys. Like you shouldn't be doing that. Like, and that was always the sort of message that we got from my parents. That you shouldn't be like.
Or somehow.
Don't be a lot.
You should somehow by we're 20, we should see a man. You should bring home Jeremiah 29 verse 11.
Yes, you should be a man of God, a man after God's own heart. You should have a strong credit score. You should have enough to pay the dowry. And then by 27, 25, 3 grandchildren already.
Gosh, I think as well, just to put some basis to it, I think I feel pressure of some sort, only because
you didn't answer the question. I didn't even ask me.
Sorry. I think I feel pressure of some sort because this time next year, Mum was already married and pregnant with me. Mum was either already married or was just getting married, or she was pregnant with me.
She was pregnant with you.
So I think she was pregnant with me
in the same year.
Yeah. So she was married then, and then she was pregnant with me. And I think for me, even though, yes, I feel outward pressure as well. My mum doesn't put as much pressure on me now as she used to, but I feel pressure on myself.
Pressure on you?
Yeah, I think so. Not pressure, but things like, I've had dreams that you're marrying this person.
Wow.
I've had dreams of marrying this person.
I remember when someone told you you meet your husband in Bath. Who was that?
everybody. That's what I'm saying. So church as well. Church, I've had dreams you married this person. I said, okay,
That is interesting.
and so I think as well to myself, gosh, what was I doing? Like, what am I doing? I compare myself to where mum was at 22/23 to where I am at 20. And yes, we were both in completely different spaces.
That's why I think you should even compare yourself. Like,
yeah, because
that was a whole different, like,
experience.
nothing. The only thing that just relates you, the only thing that relates you to that experience is that that's your mother.
Yeah, period.
But yeah, like, even though you've already touched on it, what other ways have you, like, felt pressure? Like,
oh, darling.
People telling you they had
Could have a glass of wine for that one. I had aunties come into church and tell me, okay, now you finished uni, it's time to start looking for husband.
But did you pay for the schooling?
Jesus, honest. Anyway, it's time to look for a husband, or now you finished uni. Same thing, really. Now you should start dating. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Every week, just coming to me and like, have you gone out this week? Have you put yourself forward? And I get the intention is from a good place, but it's so overwhelming, especially for me, from the background I came from, which is essentially going to an all-girls school, essentially going to an all-girls sixth form, even though it was mixed, it was a start-up sixth form, so it was all girls, and then going to a uni where it was predominantly like full of just white people. Yeah, it was, to be fair, no ACS, nothing, and not a lot of black men or male influences, period. It was just like, I really haven't had much experience with guys, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense. Because it's like,
obviously I have male friends, but it's so different.
You've never had like that?
No.
You haven't, because you haven't been dating and doing all that?
Not even really, just like being in situations where you meet a guy and you have to make friendship. Most of the guys in my life is like, I've grown up with them. Do you know what I mean? Or the Balajis, the Joshuas, the Lyomies, like, it's just like
name dropping there.
Am I not supposed to? Huh? Am I not supposed to?
It didn't matter.
Oh yeah, anyway, check out Lyomies YouTube, check out Lyomies Instagram, they're mad.
You didn't ask for sponsorship.
Alright,
You don't know who Lyomies is.
Okay.
Millions of Lyomies in this one.
I was gonna join you in this one. Alright, cool, anyway. Yeah, growing up with just men is so different. You just become accustomed to that, as opposed to being put in situations where you have to build connections and grow from there.
Actually very long.
It's so long, but also having to change your mindset that from every guy is moving to you to no, you're just friends, or this is just a friendship thing. It's weird.
It's all complicated and it's all weird. Like, when you're a kid, you think, oh, when you're older, all of it will make sense. You start moving mature. It's the same feelings. You're not as vocal, or you don't express them as much as a young child would.
If you don't teach yourself and put yourself in experiences to learn,
you will phone call.
Never make sense, which will never make sense
at all. Because it's like, especially for you more so, it's like, because you're not expected to be dating and doing all of that, associating yourself with guys, and because you went to an all-girls school,
hard boy.
They expect you to go from none of that to, okay, now start dating.
Yeah.
Now start, you know, and they expect you to do it with finesse.
Yeah, exactly.
So that in a year's time, somebody, you know, like
I would love to.
Start making sense. So when I asked Joshua that question, he said that he doesn't feel pressure the same way. Oh, I just name dropped. He said he doesn't feel. He said he doesn't feel pressure the same way like women do, which is like understandable because men aren't pressured when it comes to marriage the same way women are. We all know that. But he does like get pressure from like peers, like when his peers are getting married, they're having kids, and like and also the African mindset, like just being in a Nigerian community, even if your parents didn't instill that into you, just being in a Nigerian community, that's one auntie or one uncle would have like brought that up and instilled that sort of mindset into you some way somehow over the years. But yeah, he said he doesn't feel as much pressure as he thinks like his female friends does, because like the and his sister, like he always like gets his complaints from them saying, oh, why don't you guys like pester him the way you pester us about like getting married and meeting someone. Okay, next question. So like, this is the thing. I know you said this to me before, and I've heard like other females say this as well. But I will mainly ask a question because I wanted to know if Joshua thinks this way, but I'll also ask you. this stereotype, I know it's a very Christian thing, but it's also like an African thing as well. Like every new guy you meet, or even just friends, you start to think, oh, could this be my husband? You start to have that, like,
Lord.
you look at everybody, this is my husband, could this be my husband? Could this be the one? Is he the one? God, this is the one. And that reminded me of that story one time in Cell. Told us a story about someone told us a story about this girl that told him, "You're my husband." And just that story alone is continuously instilling fear in me not to go in my mouth and just.
Can I just say,
talk to anybody saying how you're my husband?
If God gives you that revelation,
give it to yourself. It's not for public consumption.
Proceed with the utmost wisdom. Speak to your, I don't want to say spiritual advisor because I don't really like that word, but speak to your advisor. Speak to the person you're accountable to. Yeah, speak to someone you're accountable to. Your mentor, somebody you hold dearest to, and just be like, yo, this is what it is. Have them pray on it too, because I promise you, if it's a thing, if it's a vision or a dream from God, you will have confirmation. Like that happened to a couple in our church, and they didn't say anything to anybody individually because they were both like just staying on that word and ensuring that it was from God. But then they had a confirmation from one of the elders in our church, which meant that, yo, this is a go ahead.
Yeah, and if you do get revelation about that person, it's not just a couple that will get revelation. It's your mentors as well, or people around you that are praying for you. So they will also get like a revelation from God that these two are meant to be together. Praying for you.
Yeah, granted, you might have to be like, yo, like, can you just pray for this? I kind of have this, and they might get it from that, or God might just give it to them individually. But as back to your question, which was about seeing everybody and thinking that thing, I actually have a whole testimony about that. And
we ain't got time for that today, girl. We can do another video, but not today.
We want to answer the question.
Answer the question, but make sure. Please, I don't want this podcast to be long.
Okay. So basically, yes, I experienced that 100%. I think I wouldn't say I experienced that my whole life up until I was like at uni in second year. So that was what, 19, 20?
19, you know. 19,
20. So maybe for about 19, 20 years. 19, I want to say 19 years.
20 years.
Yeah, maybe 19 years.
You've only been on this earth for 22 years. How is it 19, 20 years of your life?
I'm telling you. Okay, maybe from... Shut up! Let me speak! Maybe from when I was like 12, 13. No, maybe 14. How old are you? 14. Yeah, maybe around 14 to 19. So that's a space of what, 6 years? 5 years. I literally thought every new guy... like, oh my gosh, this person will be my husband. Or back then when I wasn't really,
that was a thing for you,
on my Christ walk, it was more, oh, this person wants to date me, this person wants to diss to me, this person wants to, yeah. And then when I started to get my Christ walk, it was, oh my gosh, this could actually be the way I meet him. He's looking at me across the road, this could be our love story. And in the span of 1 minute, I envisioned how he was going to move to me from looking at me across the road to when we have kids and we're having grandchildren. Like, it was mad. But anyway, God's willing, I'll break free from that with help.
What a shock.
And yeah, it was mad though. It's really depressing to go through.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've gone through it at that level, but obviously I do get those thoughts every now and again. But I'm like pattern, you're moving mad,
girl.
And now I purposely look at everybody as a friend. Like sometimes I do get that thought, like, oh, this guy's cute, maybe we could do a thing. No. I'm like, nah, that's long. You ain't got time for that. You know you ain't got energy.
But even in the most recent times when I probably had one of those last thoughts, that person removed their collar. So,
yeah. Well,
so I was like, oh, girl, that brought
just because I thought
trash.
God forgive me.
Yeah, no, men are not trash, you know. So, thank you.
So when I asked Joshua that, he said he never really had those sort of thoughts. Like if he met a girl, or he saw a girl he thought was pretty, like, oh, this girl's pretty, but he never really had those sort of thoughts. Like the only time he had those thoughts was with someone that he actually wanted to pursue, or the girl that he I'm just going out his laundry in it, but you know, he gave me permission. Girls that he's been out with. But yeah, he hasn't really had those thoughts. But I think, until recently, I would say, like, now that the pressure for him has increased a little bit, but it's not uncomfortable pressure the way females experience pressure. Now that more people are aware, this guy's getting up there and he's not married. I think now, he said now sometimes he thinks about that a bit more, but because of Corona lockdown, there's no time to be thinking about that. He's not meeting anyone new.
Time more. But yeah.
Okay, next question.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, next question. Okay, so I just want to touch on this whole being called to a life of single witness thing. Do you think, guys? Let me finish. Do you think that, or for those of you that don't know what being called to a life of single witness is basically,
I forgot what the word is in the Bible for them.
You not?
You not.
Yes, you not. And if you don't know what
you not, I think.
I don't know. One of them. If you don't know what that means, it's basically God has prophesied over you, or God has said, God has decided you won't marry in this life.
But you said such a bad way. Oh my god!
You won't marry in this life.
No
word. Serve alone. You're not alone, but you're only called to serve the living God.
Or you've come to the decision personally as well.
I don't think it's a personal decision.
No, tell me, you can come to a decision personally to be like, no, I want to live my life for God.
I think if people that do that, I think those are like sort of, I think that, okay, God, formulate the word. I think those type of people that make that decision by themselves, obviously, actually not by themselves, but I expect them to consult with God. I think that those type of people, they would have to be like asexual, or maybe just come to the terms that if they don't have time for people.
No, you can,
or they're just tired of looking, you know.
I don't know. It's just a thing where you just want to live your life for Christ, and that's it.
Oh yeah, and that as well, yeah.
The Bible says that it's better for you to be single and complete your purpose, your mission on this earth.
I know that's right.
To be married and to be distracted from your purpose in life. Yeah. Marriage is a beautiful thing, and if God wills it for you, and if it happens to you, amazing. Like honestly, I want that for myself. I want that for my sisters, 100%. But yeah.
So do you think that could be a possibility for you?
No.
Why you and Joshua answer like that straight away? And that
no.
If it did happen, how would you feel about that? Okay.
No. Okay. No, Lord, please. My book.
But the reason Joshua said no was because he's had confirmation from God that he's not meant to like do this with alone.
Yes, I haven't had that confirmation from God, but I've had confirmation from other people, and it's not just saying that because they're like, oh no, I want you to marry, but like, no, Mama,
I swear I should be next year.
Yeah. Joking. There's a slap way off. Anyway, God might do this one. Anyway, I've had confirmation on people like, no, I see you getting married, and I know you're gonna have a fruitful marriage. And also for my mum, I think mum would have had those dreams that your mom's not gonna have.
I think every mum has that.
No, but having a prayerful mother. Okay, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because she would have had peace in her heart if I said to her I don't want to get married, and she'll be like, okay, cool.
So when I asked Joshua, he said no, and he said,
"You said what he said? What you said?
Yeah, I said that.
That he's got confirmation."
I'm gonna confuse him. What's going on? Okay, so like,
yes,
going back to like drawing conclusion.
Conclusion. We're wrapping up already, but
30-minute podcast.
Okay.
But I don't like it to be long. Do you feel like there's a problem with people rushing into marriage and making hasty decisions?
No.
You don't?
No. I think different people have different reasons for rushing into marriage. I don't think it's wrong for the most part. I know a lot of my Oyinbo Christian friends knew this is who they wanted to spend their life with, necessarily weren't in the correct financial position to be getting married, but did it because they knew they were going to fornicate.
Okay, so we have 40 seconds to wrap up the podcast. Thank you.
But
this is mad disrespectful.
In short, no, God's timing is perfect. If you're a Christian and you choose to get married, even though everything around you seems like it's a whirlwind, God will make a way for you. God will not give you more than what you can't handle. So yeah, that is us. We wrap it up from the Hot Point.
Thank you for listening to another installment of the Hot Point podcast. I hope you enjoyed. You know what my is. You know where to find me. This will be up in a couple of days if you will be hearing it. I'm trying to rush. Okay.
I hope that you got something from this. We love you. We out. Bye.
You're listening to the Hot Point podcast, a commentary on all the hot points of life, hosted by Opiemi Omojafo.